In alhamdulillah, wa salat, wa salam Allah, wa rasulullah. Welcome to another session here of the 200 Hadiths for Muslim women. This is a Hadith class in which we're studying from the book 200 Hadiths for Muslim women, written by Sheikh Muhammad Saeed compiled by Sheikh Muhammad Saeed Atli. These are all Hadiths addressing women in Islam, issues that relate to women in Islam, but that does not mean that this is a women's class, because it's not. We do have brothers who are here and will be participating in today's class as well. These are just hadiths relating to women, in which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam addressed for men or for the female companions. And this class is an interactive class. What that means is together, what I would do is review the hadith with you, give you the historical background of the hadith, explain the meaning, and then we will all speak collectively and together, as to how the hadith relates to us in our personal lives. And with that said, let me get started by sharing my screen so that everyone can see, can at least take a look at the hadith. Which one is this? Number one. I got so many hadith classes I'm teaching now. Is this for the women or the men? Oh, wait a minute. I can't, which class? I don't, let me see which hadith is for this one, because I'm doing so many hadith classes. Was that the one? Just to make sure, because I want to make sure I didn't confuse this hadith up with the one for the other. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, everyone, let me share the screen. Okay, inshallah, everyone should be able to see the screen. This hadith is narrated by Urwa ibn Al-Mughira. He said, my father once said that he was in the company of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on a journey, and I dashed to take off his socks. He ordered me to leave them, as he had put them on after making wudu. So he instead passed his wet hands over them. Now, a lot of people might read this hadith and say, what does this have to do with women? Well, I'll tell you what it has to do with women. Contrary to what you hear a lot of innovators tell you, women and men, we pray the same. The same rules that apply to men in regards to wudu and worship, which is praying and all of that, applies to us too. We do not make wudu any differently than men do. We do not pray any differently than men do. And even the rules in regards to wiping over your turban, wiping over your socks, wiping over your shoes, this all applies to women too. I tell you guys all the time, Allah is an equal employment opportunist, subhanAllah. He does not discriminate. We discriminate, but not Allah. So here you can see in this hadith, let me put it back up on the screen, the rules in regards to wiping over your sock. And by the way, this applies to wiping over not just a sock, but your shoe and also your hijab. A lot of people will come to me and say, Sister Layla, if I wipe over my hijab or I wipe over my shoes when I'm at work, when I get home, do I have to take them off and make wudu over them? The answer, over my foot or over my head, the answer is no, as long as you have made wudu over that bodily part at least once within the past 24 hours. If you're not a traveler, if you are a traveler, at least once every 3 days. Okay. So if you're this man here, he was on a journey and he went to take off his socks. He told him to leave them on. You didn't have to, take them off. You can just make wudu over the top of them. And let me tell you something else, the hikmah, the wisdom here. A lot of people will say, but Sister Layla, we walk on and our feet, the bottom of our feet touch the ground. Why is that when we wipe over the sock or we wipe over the shoe, we wipe over just the top? Why don't we have to just wipe over the whole shoe? This is the wisdom of Allah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also told us in another hadith that the earth purifies whatever passes over it. Okay, so you simply, if you have made wudu on your foot at least once within 24 hours, if you have socks on or shoes on, you don't have to take the sock off. You don't have to take the shoe off. You can simply wet your hand and wipe over the top of the sock or the top of the shoe. And that also applies for the hijab. If I've made wudu over my head at least once within 24 hours, I don't have to take my cap off or my hijab off. I can simply wet my hands and just go over the top of my hijab. Okay, so that's what this hadith is speaking about. Let me put it up on the screen again so the new people can look at it. Urwa ibn Al-Mughira tells us that his father told him that he was with the Prophet on a journey, and he went to take off his socks to make wudu. The Prophet told him to leave them on as he had put them on after making wudu. So he simply just passed his hands over the top of them. So we learned that. And by the way, when it comes to socks, there's some fanatical Muslims out there will tell you that they have to be leather socks. This is incorrect. What is a sock? Look it up in a dictionary. A sock is anything made of fabric that covers your foot up to the ankle. That's a sock. That's a sock. So if it's made out of nylon, if it's made out of plastic, if it's made out of cloth, any type of cloth or leather, it's a sock as long as it covers the foot and up to the ankle. That is how we define a sock. Okay. So it doesn't have to be leather socks. I know some Muslims that will go and go all the way to Saudi Arabia just to buy some leather socks, thinking that those are the only things you can wipe over. Subhanallah, no. And even if the sock has a hole in it, you can still wipe over, because there's hadiths whereas the companions wore socks that had holes in them, and they still just wiped over the top of them. Okay, so I want everybody to understand that too. It doesn't have to be made out of leather. It can be, a sock is defined as a piece of cloth that covers the foot up to the ankle. Okay, so now that I've explained that hadith and the meaning of it, who would like to share? How does this hadith relate to you in your personal life? Anyone?
Well, it definitely relates to me, because once I leave home at 4:30 in the morning, and I may return anywhere between 4:30 in the evening or 8 or 9 or 10 at night, wearing those socks with shoes, and I can make ablution because I'm praying all the time outside of my home. So I get to make my Fajr at home, and I get to make Asa at home if I get in time. And I get to make my Maghrib and Isha at home. And I usually just keep my socks on all day long. So it's really been a blessing for me, because I can wipe over the shoes too when I'm outside driving the bus. I don't have to take my shoes off. And it's so sad to see Muslim sisters who don't listen when I say to them, you do not have to take your shoes off, your socks off, and put your foot in a bowl outside in public in a public bathroom, because it's like degrading. It makes us look silly. And I've heard a complaint from one of the brothers from another, or just a person who's not a brother, he's just a person, a peer that works at the bus company, who talked about one of our Muslim brothers who go into the bathroom and washes his feet in the bowl. I don't talk to that brother because I think he needs to talk to the other brother. But at the same time, just hearing that, what are we showing to the world when we don't follow the religion when we know it? If we know our religion, we need to follow it. If you don't know your religion, you need to learn it. Alhamdulillah.
Exactly. And this is a big problem with Muslims today. We don't accept the concessions of Allah. And this is what I'm going to be speaking about today in the open forum at 6 too. You know, Allah has perfected this deen, made it beautiful for us and attractive for us. And he's given us so many concessions, so many easy ways to go about fulfilling our obligations. Just like when we are fasting, if you're sick, you can break your fast. When you're traveling, you can break your fast. When you have your shoes on or your hijab on, you can wipe over the top of them as long as you've made wudu over the body part at least once within the past 24 hours. Allah gives us all these wonderful, wonderful concessions, but we fail to take advantage of them. We fail to show our gratitude to Allah by accepting his concessions. And instead, we want to make the religion difficult upon ourselves. And in turn, as Sister Anissa said, we make it ugly to others. Other people look at us and say, my God, those people are crazy. They're fanatical. What is that fool doing putting his foot in a sink? Oh my God, this is a public bathroom. He has his foot in the sink. How degrading, how disgusting. Good job. That shows what ignorance and stubbornness, will do to a person. Good job, Sister Anissa. Anyone else would like to share their thoughts and on this wonderful hadith and how it impacts them in their personal life? Anyone else?
Well, I'm glad to hear it for myself because I keep socks on at all times. I get up in the morning, I put my socks on after I take my bath, and I keep my socks on all through the day. If I leave home and I change my socks and I put on a different pair of socks, do I have to make wudu over those, or when I put the ones on that I already
as long
did?
as you did not break your wudu, if you still have the same wudu that you did not break your wudu, you're good to go. And even when you get back home, you don't have to take the socks off. So again, that's a good question too. Once you make wudu over the top of that sock, that's the concession of Allah. You fine. You don't have, if you change socks or whatever, you're still good to go unless you break your wudu. If you pass gas and break your wudu, then you have to make a new wudu. You'd wipe over the top of those new socks. But if you haven't broke your wudu is still good. This is a concession of Allah to make it easy for us. But so many Muslims, make it hard for themselves, making all those wudus when they really don't have to, just like they're fasting when they're sick, when they don't have to, and they're not really earning any brownie points with Allah. In fact, they're making Allah angry because Allah gets angry when he sees that his concessions are not taken to heart. Good job, Sister Lucy. But like you say, a person, you may walk around in your socks all day because it's cold. It's a blessing to know that you can just keep them on and wipe over the top of them and go on about your business rather than taking them off, doing the whole foot, drying the foot off, especially when it's cold outside. You want to, oh my God, I'm going to take off my socks and get cold again. SubhanAllah, just wipe over the top of it. MashaAllah. Anyone else would like to share? Sister Mariam, what do you think about this wonderful, wonderful hadith that shows the concessions of Allah? Sister Mariam.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Layla.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yes, I work in the medical field. I'm a nurse. Sometimes I have to work long hours, even 15 hours. And we have work socks. So what I do is before I leave the house, I make wudu. And after I pray Fajr, I change in my work socks. So it makes it a lot easier.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. See the concessions of Allah. Here's a woman who's a nurse. She's on the front line there. She may have to do 15, 16, sometimes 20-hour shifts because you know how the nurses are overworked, especially with this COVID. And look at the concession. She can just wipe over her sock and call it a day, or wipe over the top of her shoe, wipe over her hijab and call it a day, and don't have to worry about stripping her, finding a place to strip her clothes off where no one can see her and all that nonsense. Again, the concessions of Allah. Anyone else would like to share in regards to this wonderful hadith?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Some people, when they read this hadith, they misinterpret this hadith and make the religion hard on themselves when Allah made the religion easy on us by just if we made one wudu and put the socks, if we make wudu and put the socks over of it, all we have to do is just to wipe over the socks. And that's it. It doesn't have to be any kind of socks like the leather socks, like it says on this hadith, that some people doesn't know what it means and do whatever do what it says on this hadith. I remember one day my son he already made a wudu, and he had socks on it. And I was like, go make your wudu. He was like, oh, I can't because I got hole on it. And I was like, so what? It doesn't matter if you have hole or not. As long as you made one wudu, like one wudu when it was Fajr, it's okay. You can just put the water on top of your socks, even on your shoes. You don't have to take off your shoes. And I saw a lot of people who made wudu over and over again, even though they still have the wudu, because they think that they have to take off the socks for the wudu for the prayer to be accepted. Otherwise, the wudu that they made, otherwise the prayer would not be accepted if they don't wipe the water on top of the socks. So they show us that Allah made this religion easy on us. We are the one who made the religion hard on ourselves.
Exactly. And that's the same thing with the fanatics who try to say, oh, the socks have to be of a thick fabric. It has to be leather, and all of these other concessions they put in there. That's not true. What about this? Can you make wudu over your stockings, over a pair of stockings? What do you guys think about that? I have on stockings. Say you're wearing the nylon, stockings that women wear over to cover their legs. Could you make wudu
Yes,
over
you
that?
can.
Yes, indeed, because what is a sock? Anything that comes up over the foot and covers the ankle. The stockings is not only just covering the ankle, but it's covering the whole leg. So yes, you can make wudu over the top of the stocking too. But I've heard other people ask this question to other people of knowledge who call themselves, people that call themselves people of knowledge, and they told them, oh no, you can't make wudu over your stockings because that's not a sock. Who said it's not a sock? Go look up what a sock is in the dictionary. So that just goes to show how, again, when we don't educate ourselves about the religion, and then we don't even have common sense about worldly life, how easily diluted and we can become and end up misinterpreting this religion to others. Anyone else would like to share about this hadith?
Yes, also I wanted to add, some people, we women, we can, when we make wudu one time of our head, like this hadith say, we can, the next time when it's time to pray and we want to make wudu again, we can just put water like over hijab, and that's it. But some people will say that, oh no, you can't do that because the water has to touch the roots of your hair, and if you made wudu like that, your prayer is not accepted. So you have to put water in your head. You have to take off your hijab. But some people doesn't know that we don't want to wet our hair. Especially me, my hair the way it is. I don't want to wet my hair all the time I made wudu. But some people, again, they made the religion hard when the religion is easy.
Exactly. And that's why it's important for us to seek knowledge from the proper sources. We have to be careful who we take our knowledge of Islam from, because unfortunately, there's a lot of Muslims out there calling themselves people of knowledge when they really are not. A lot of people have not studied the Hadiths. They don't know anything about the Hadiths. And like one thing that Sheikh Morsi stresses, they don't speak the Arabic, number one, so they don't understand the pure Arabic, and they misconstrue the meanings up, like many do, like we did with the example of the cat and the dog hadith. So we have to be very careful to make sure that when we do seek knowledge of this religion, we are seeking it from the true proper sources, people who truly do understand, because nowhere does the prophet say that your water has to touch the root of your head. Where's the hadith that says that? We wipe over, it says wipe it. We don't wash our hair when we make wudu. If I'm going to have the water touch the roots, that means I might as well just get in the shower and just take a shower and wash my hair. Nowhere does the prophet say that when making wudu, we have to wash our hair. So that's just an example of how we really need to be careful of who we take knowledge of Islam from and take it from the proper sources. Anyone else would like to share some light on this hadith? Okay. Let me put it up on, oh, I'm sorry. I'll put it up there. Okay, somebody's asking. I'll put it. Okay, this is the hadith, whereas it's narrated by Urwa ibn Al-Mughira. He said that his father told him that he was with the prophet on a journey one time, and he went to take off his socks. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered him to leave them on as he had put them on after making wudu. So he simply just passed wet hands over them. And again, he didn't throw water over the top of the sock. He didn't soak the sock, take his foot and shove it in the toilet. He didn't put it in a bowl. He simply just wet his hands with water and passed his wet hands over the top of the sock. That's important too. He didn't wipe the bottom. He didn't wash his foot with the sock on it. He just passed his hand over, his wet hand over the top of it. You know, this is all because he had made wudu before over the foot. And this is not only for the sock, this is for the shoe, this is for the head too, but not for your arms. A lot of sisters have asked me, Sister Layla, don't we just make wudu over our sleeves? No, the passing of that wet hand over the top of something only applies to the head, for the hijab or the turban, the sock or the shoe, not for your arms or sleeves. Okay, that has to be stressed too, because so many Muslims are misinformed about that. Any other comments about this hadith before we close out? Okay, mashallah. Okay, well, that's all that we have to say on this wonderful hadith. So I guess what I'm going to do is close it up here for today, this session. And again, I want to hold the book up again and remind everyone, let me make it so that everybody can see it. And there. Now, this is the book. It's called The 200 Hadiths for Muslim Women. It's compiled by Sheikh Muhammad Saeed Atlee. You can buy it on his website, atleeonline.com, or you can go to my Facebook page, the Sunnahfollowers Facebook group page, or my personal profile, and order the book directly from there because I had the direct link. The book is not expensive. It only costs a few dollars, a couple of dollars, and he's having a Ramadan sale, I'm told, too. And so just order this book. Wonderful hadiths for us to ponder the meaning of, wonderful hadiths for us to implement and apply to our lives. And by the way, for those of you who are wondering what days are, because I'm having so many classes now, this class is held on Thursdays and Sundays at 2 p.m. and Sundays at 12 p.m. Okay, so try to make it to this class if you can. So with that said, we're going to close out for today. I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. Please join us for all the other class. I want to remind you that we have the Sunnahfollowers Kids program here in the Zoom room at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is in a couple of hours, you know, and they will be Sister Isra and Sister Faiza will go over the hadiths for the children, and they're using this book entitled 40 Hadiths for Muslim Children. This book is also compiled by Sheikh Muhammad Saeed Atlee. You can also buy it on his website, atleeonline.com, or go to my Sunnahfollowers group page. You can order both books. Okay, and so the kids will be going over the hadith in this book today at 2, and then they're going to see parts 10 and 11 of the story of Moses. So please make sure you guys tune in here to our classes today. And we also have the open forum at 6 p.m. and I will be doing the forum and by myself, and I'm going to have a wonderful story for you. I'm going to give you the story of one of the female companions. Her name was Rufayda el-Islamiyya. She was one of the first female doctors in Islam, and she was also a nurse. And also I'll do any answers your questions about fasting for Ramadan or any questions about fasting in general. So that's at 6. So please make sure you guys follow the schedule for today. So with that said, I'm going to close it out here. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa Sunnahfollowers, protectors of the Sunnah. Sunnahfollowers, protectors of the Sunnah.